By 1660, the English monarchy had literally been deleted. The entire country was running on this experimental republic operating system under Oliver Cromwell, and frankly, it was glitching out hard. So, if you're revising for your GCSE AQA History exam, specifically Section 3.3.2 BD, Britain Part 2, you are in exactly the right place. We're diving into Restoration England 1660 to 1685, starting right at the exact moment they hit the giant reset button and brought back the king.
So, here is your quest log for today's revision session. We've got 5 crucial levels to conquer for your Paper 2 depth study: Crown and Plots, Plague and Fire, Culture and Science, Land, Trade and War, and finally, the Historic Environment. Let's get to it.
Kicking things right off with Level 1, Crown, Parliament, and Plots. When Charles II actually logged back in and returned to the throne in 1660, it was definitely not a simple plug-and-play situation. Right out of the gate, he faced massive competing priorities. On one side, you've got the crown. Charles's main focus? Getting reliable finance to run the country and, let's be real, fund his lavish lifestyle, all while locking down absolute authority. But on the other side, Parliament was totally obsessed with strict control over religion, specifically keeping Catholicism out and micromanaging the royal succession. These competing priorities just created this constant, grinding tension from day one.
To bypass all those frustrating traditional structures, Charles formed what basically became known as the Cabal. This was a super powerful, highly secretive guild of 5 high-ranking advisors, and get this, their initials literally spelled out CABAL. They were his absolute inner circle, they helped him navigate tricky party politics, handle the finances, and honestly, scheme behind Parliament's back a lot of the time.
And man, political stability plummeted almost immediately. We go from this super peaceful restoration in 1660 straight into absolute chaos. Fast forward to 1678 and we get the Popish plot. Now, this was a completely fabricated conspiracy theory cooked up by Titus Oates, who claimed Catholics were going to assassinate Charles. Wild, right? But this panic led directly to the 1679 Exclusion Bill, where Parliament actually tried to block Charles's Catholic brother, James, from the throne. Well, Charles was so furious about this that by 1681, he completely banned Parliament, just shut them down and started ruling without them entirely. And to cap it all off, in 1683, Protestant extremists actually did try to assassinate Charles and James in the Rye House plot. Pure chaos.
Which brings us to Level 2, Surviving Plague and Fire.
Just as things were already incredibly tense, Mother Nature decided to throw the ultimate stress test at Restoration England. Charles faced back-to-back crisis events. First, you have the devastating 1665 Great Plague sweeping through London, literally wiping out roughly a quarter of the city's population. And if that wasn't horrific enough, immediately the following year, September 1666, the Great Fire of London breaks out. It completely destroyed the medieval heart of the city before they finally started a massive reconstruction effort in 1667.
The crazy thing is, we know so much about the terrifying scale of these disasters thanks to primary source diaries from people like Samuel Pepys. He literally wrote, "Lord, what a sad sight it was by moonlight to see the whole city almost on fire that you might read by it." I mean, wow. Pepys's diary is an absolute goldmine for your exam. He gives us this ground-level human perspective on the sheer panic of the plague and the awesome destruction of the fire. When you're writing your essays, definitely quote or reference contemporary views like Pepys. It's going to seriously boost your marks.
Surviving the fire actually led to this epic rebuilding phase. The old, cramped, wooden medieval city, totally gone. So architects like Christopher Wren stepped in to completely upgrade London's architecture. They cleared the smoking ruins, drafted brilliant new designs featuring much wider streets to prevent future fires, and constructed modern buildings using fire-resistant brick and stone. They essentially transformed London from a medieval maze into a sleek, modern metropolis.
Let's move on to Level 3, Restoration Culture and Science.
The Restoration wasn't just about politics and disasters, it was a massive cultural explosion. During the Puritan years right before Charles returned, fun was basically outlawed. But Charles, he brought it back with a vengeance. He enthusiastically supported the reopening of theaters, which gave rise to this witty, sometimes totally scandalous Restoration comedy. Groundbreakingly, women were officially allowed to act on stage for the exact first time in English history. We also see the huge rise of coffee houses, these buzzing hubs for news, gossip, and business. And crucially for your exams, Charles was a massive patron of the sciences. He officially chartered the Royal Society, bringing all these brilliant minds together to figure out how the world actually worked through real observation and experiment. Absolute game changer.
All right, leveling up to level 4, land, trade, and war. Think of this next part as a perfect mental cheat sheet for your revision. Let's map out exactly which new territories the English claimed and the key players generating all the wealth there. So the Crown acquired Bombay, which was actually part of Charles's marriage treaty, and the Hudson Bay, heavily utilized by the East India Company and fur traders to generate just massive amounts of wealth. Tangier served as this vital strategic outpost for Mediterranean naval control. And over in Jamaica, you had figures like Captain Henry Morgan acting essentially as government-sponsored pirates. Privateers, officially, but yeah, raiding Spanish gold to enrich the English crown.
But listen, this map expansion wasn't just random exploring. It was completely driven by an economic philosophy called mercantilism. Think of it as a ruthless strategy of hoarding global resources. The idea back then was that there's only a fixed amount of wealth in the entire world, and England needed to grab absolutely as much of it as possible. They did this by passing the Navigation Acts. These acts forced English colonies to trade exclusively with English ships. It effectively blocked rival nations like the Dutch and the French from getting even a tiny piece of the action.
But of course, when you aggressively hoard global resources, you're going to trigger massive international conflicts. The policies we literally just looked at led directly to fierce naval battles in the Second and Third Dutch Wars. Nations were fighting tooth and nail for global trade dominance using upgraded naval tactics and heavily armed ships. England also played this super dangerous game of shifting alliances between superpowers like Spain and France. And look, it is absolutely essential we mention the darkest part of this economic expansion, England's deep and highly profitable involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. That horrific trade funded a huge portion of this newfound imperial wealth.
Finally, we reach level 5, the historic environment.
I really want you to let that number sink in, 10. That represents the 10% of your overall GCSE history grade that is hanging entirely on your ability to analyze your specific real-world historical site. Every single year, AQA specifies a different site from the Restoration period. It could be a stately home, it could be a theater, or maybe a reconstructed part of London. You don't physically have to go visit it, but you definitely have to understand it inside out.
So, when you're examining your assigned site in the exam, just follow these 4 exact steps to break it down. First, what was its function? And why was it built in that specific location? Second, look at the structure itself. Does it use that new brick and stone style from post-Great Fire London? Third, who actually designed it and who lived there? Was it a wealthy merchant, a member of Charles's court? And finally, step 4, and this is the absolute big one. Link the site to the wider historical events we've been talking about. Does this building reflect the wealth from the new global trade? Does it show the scientific influence of the Royal Society? You have to connect the physical bricks to the historical timeline.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with a final high-level question to really test your historical analysis skills. And trust me, you'll absolutely need these for your exams. How did surviving those apocalyptic disasters actually help the king rebuild and upgrade his power? Think about it for a second. The fire destroyed the old, cramped city, right? This actually allowed the crown to redesign the capital on its own modern, magnificent terms, perfectly projecting its power and wealth. It is a brilliant example of historical consequence. Keep that question floating in your mind as you review your notes. Thanks so much for joining me for this session, and good luck conquering those history exams.